The Guardians teased us over the weekend against the Padres. They scored runs on Friday and Saturday, played a complete game on Saturday, and then laid an egg on Sunday. Is the Guardians season on the brink? Is it over? Or can they use this pivotal stretch to salvage things? We'll talk about that on today's Locked On Guardians.
You are Locked On Guardians, your daily podcast on the Cleveland Guardians. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome on into an episode of Locked On Guardians, your only daily podcast on the Cleveland Guardians. Every day from the majors, the minors, the draft, everything in between. I'm Justin Lada. That is Jeff Ellis. Jeff has been hosting the show here for 8 years. I've been here for 4 with Jeff. And on today's show, we're going to get into what we're hoping for and watching for the rest of the season, because we're wondering what gives us and what gives you hope the rest of this Guardians season, and if it's salvageable. Jeff, if I gotta be honest, I had some rough moments over the weekend watching this team. We joke all the time that with some of our listeners that it's like therapy, it's daily therapy, and since the second half and since August, this has mostly been the therapy show every single day. There's been very few shows of celebration and hope and excitement, maybe some prospect stuff that's been fun, but what is it, 8-19 now in the second half, and they're 3-10.
I would say going into the All-Star break, things were probably as good as they've been.
Yes, minus Jose, minus Angel, and since then it's been rough. I was joking today. I did the post-game reaction video, and I said the last time this team won 2 in a row was July 20th and 21st, and the next day Jose Ramirez came back. And I'm like, that was just very weird that you get Jose back and you won 2 in a row. We're all excited that Jose's back, and then
but he's not.
They have just gone.
That's the problem.
He's not back. Well, the silver linings from this game on Sunday. I was watching the post-game show, and I think Chris Jimenez was talking about how, I'm not going to lie to you, he looks like he's coming back. Like, he hit the ball hard. Yeah, he had a couple of hard hit balls on Saturday. He had 2 hits on Sunday, and he had a walk. Like, he's been doing some things better over the weekend. His defense was tremendous over the weekend, by the way, which, again, the Guardians' defense this weekend was actually good. But you know what they didn't do, Jeff? They didn't hit on Sunday. They didn't pitch on Friday. It's like, and this is why I'm saying, like, is the season salvageable? That's why we're starting out on the show today. Is the season salvageable? Because I have a hard time believing until I see it, because I just said they haven't won 2 in a row since July 20th and 21st against the Twins. Until I see them win 2 in a row, until I see 2 or 3 games in a row where they pitch well or they play defense well, which I guess they play defense well the weekend, and then they do some things that are good at hitting wise. Or they win, even if they win a game 2-0 or 2-1 in that stretch, that's fine. But until I see them put together some sort of consistent stretch of playing clean baseball or doing some good things well, like what they did Saturday. I'm not saying I expect, games like they had Saturday where they won 6-1 and they did everything well. Like, they just got to put together a good enough stretch to look like they're competing. And I know you're going to say, well, they're only, X amount of games out of the wild card in the AL. The American League is god-awful. And I got to be honest, Jeff, I know we want to see postseason baseball. I'm not going to take that for granted if they get there. But I got to be honest, I don't care about the wild card as a whole, because it's not what I would expect coming off of the last 2 seasons. So until this team puts together a stretch of baseball that looks like a team resembling of what we think they are, I can't buy in that they're going to be able to salvage the season. I know they did it in September last year, and maybe they will. And if they put together that type of run, I'll say, okay, they salvaged it. But right now, I need some evidence. And right now, I don't have any.
The way I look at it as, if you had told me coming into this series that Gavin Williams was going to have one of his worst starts of the year, and that Tanner was going to give up a ton of hard hit contact and only have 3 strikeouts, I would have said, oh, they're getting swept. And I know that's, the silver lining, and maybe I'm pushing those things too far with it, but it's like they scored 5 runs in one game. They scored 6 in the other. Sunday, they just got shut down. I agree with you. The consistency hasn't been there at all with this team. And, that's been kind of the story of the whole year. It's like when you go back to when this team was in first place, Jose Ramirez was not Jose Ramirez, but he was still an above average bat. Maybe we'll get him back there, but handmade bones are tricky. Like those are known to sap power for up to and over a year. Some guys never come back all the way.
He's still pulling the hand off the bat. Like let's be honest. He did have a good weekend. He did hit the ball well this weekend. Not to the Jose Ramirez we know, but certainly better than he had since he came back. But I noticed in his last at bat, hitting right-handed on Sunday, he pulled the bottom hand off the bat, which is the left hand. Yeah, the left hand's the surgically repaired hand. So, I don't think he's going to be 100% the rest of the year. Let's be honest. I don't think he will be.
But let's also be honest. He wasn't like himself this year. Like we spent the whole year before his I know, but I'm just saying we spent the whole year before his injury talking about like, oh, he's back, and then he'd have a terrible 2-week period. Like I'm curious to see. He's going to turn 34, right? Because I know these things. He shares a birthday with my daughter, but like I'm curious to see what happens. But to go back to the original points, like you had Rocchio hitting with runners in scoring position and hitting, being a 120 WRC plus guy through May, and since then he's got a 44. Yeah, I mean, right now he's one of the worst hitters in baseball. I know. Listen, he got one of the 3 stars in Friday's game. That was great to see. He had a walk today. Those are positive signs. We'll see if he can. I think his lows aren't as low as he's shown, and I think his highs aren't as high as he's shown. I think when he was an 84 WRC plus last year, about 16% below league average, that's what he is. He's more utility guy than starter. And there's, or a second division starter thanks to his defense at shortstop. Like, there's ways you can make it work. I think there's profiles for him. I just think when you have Hanau, it just kind of blocks him a bit. But, it's like you had Rocchio at that level. You had Hedges at that level. And that's one of those other things. When you look at the stats, like Hedges has been a below average hitter for the last 2 months. Like all the great Hedges talk when he was, unbelievable. I think he's like an 81 over the last month. So, Chase is still hitting. Quan is hitting. The additions of Lowe and Adele have actually stepped up and done what they've asked them to do. Patrick Bailey most of the time does nothing, but he seems to have at least 2 hits a week with runners in scoring position, which is, from what I understand, is the San Francisco Bailey experience. But yeah, it's that consistency. It's, Bazana had it's really funny because Travis Bazana has clearly replaced Gabby Arias as the most hated man in Cleveland. And at least based on the comments. And Bazana had a fantastic May when he got called up. And since then, he's been riding the average line. Like, there are people who are struggling a lot more than him. When you look at his runners in scoring position data, it's actually a lot better than most guys on the team. So, I mean, yeah, for a guy with his hype, I expected a little bit more than average, but it is where it is. It's like, again, it's the Matt Festa effect, right? Like, these guys aren't the biggest problem on the team. The biggest problem right now is
it's consistency.
It's overall. Consistency. Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like, we got to see Hoskins today after he didn't play in Saturday's game. Like we got to see the nice, and I still think like at this point Hoskins just is not bringing anything. I got to be honest.
Like, if this was Office Space, he'd have a conversation with the Bobs, and they'd say, "What would you say you do here?"
I mean, again, if you just look at the data for the last 30 days or the last 2 months, like, Manzardo was out hitting him, and he's a better defender. And I know Manzardo has not been like spectacular in AAA. I know Fry has put up great numbers in AAA, but it's like I'd rather have them. Like I don't. You've got the leadership.
At least
down
Fry can play different positions.
Yes, like go with either of them at this point. And I'm not a Fry person. Yeah. This show knows this. Hoskins isn't contributing. He's not doing anything. He had a walk today. He walks. He occasionally hits a home run, and I don't see the point of it because he can't do anything in the field, and his inability to scoop has caused multiple issues with multiple players. Yeah. So it's like, it's that to me is the one spot where you're like, hey, what can we do? And go listen to Friday's show. I lay out why it's not Ralphie. And everyone who keeps asking for Ralphie also learn how to actually spell his name, because I wonder if you've actually seen him play, because all these people are screaming for him and no one spells his name correctly. I know I don't pronounce things correctly. I know I misspell things all the time, but the spelling errors aren't from like a disability. It's just because you're spelling it what you think it should spell like, instead of having actually, seen him play on an MLIB TV thing and seeing his name pop up.
Or
so if you're screaming for him, it's like if you're screaming for him, like that's why, like, I mean, I'm sure there's people out there who, I mean, I mispronounce names, like I said, all the time. I might, you can go back, listen to the draft show. I probably talked about someone I liked and I got his name wrong. Like, spend a little time. If you think he's the answer, maybe watch him a bit. But I also explained why he's not the answer this year.
Yeah, there's a lot of reasons that go against that. I wrote about that on Monday at the News Herald too, as my lead note for the Miners column. Unfortunately, the Miners were all wiped out on Sunday, so he can't even focus on prospects. And we'll get into more of that as the week goes on because of how things are going right now. But yeah, consistency is the hardest thing when it comes to Major League Baseball because there's 162 games and it's a grind. It's a hard sport. It chews you up and spits you out, and it's draining. And I think it's getting to be draining on fans too. And I think it's even draining on us. So if it's draining on all of us, it's draining on all the players. It can't be easy there too, and they're human. And I know nobody wants to hear that, and nobody wants to hear about millionaires' problems. But truth is, money, despite money, we're all human in some way. And we'll talk more about this on the other side too, because I got some other things I want to address, and then we'll talk about this upcoming stretch for the Guardians, what gives us hope, what we're looking for, and how things shake out the rest of the way if they're ever going to turn this thing around. Baseball fans, if you think you know who's hitting a home run in today's game, FanDuel is giving you a free chance to win and call your shot on Daily Dingers because Locked On Guardians is brought to you by FanDuel. Very easy to play. All you got to do is make your free pick. Who you think is going to home run in their game? If you're right, you get a profit boost to use in your next bet for a chance at extra winnings, and you can make a free pick every day throughout the rest of the Major League Baseball season. So Daily Dingers is an easy way to stay engaged with every day's games. So if you're following your favorite team, Guardians, or keeping an eye on matchups across the league. So every game has someone capable of going deep, maybe unless you're the Guardians, or the Brewers are actually last in home runs in baseball. But you get your chance to make your prediction before first pitch every single day. I took Pete Crow Armstrong, and normally this is where I would talk about the Guardians odds, but honestly, it's shocking to me that the NL field right now on FanDuel is just Shohei Ohtani and Pete Crow Armstrong. That's how balanced it is, even though the teams are better over there. So if you're ready to play your game today, join all the action at FanDuel.com. That's FanDuel.com to play Daily Dingers. Make your free pick on who's hitting a homer. Play ball, swing for the fences on FanDuel, official partner of Major League Baseball. As always, we want to thank you for making Locked On Guardians your first listen today and every day, wherever it is that you get podcasts. We appreciate your spending your precious time talking ball with us and, just kind of going through this whole thing together. I know it's difficult and frustrating. Everyone's, wanting more entertaining baseball, or baseball doesn't want them to bash their head against the wall, or I don't even know if we're at that point, Jeff, to be honest with you, the bashing the head against the wall. I'll talk about that in a second. But if you want to check out a little bit more beyond the conversation we have every day for a half hour, got the Everyday Club for you to check out. That is going to get you access to the ad-free versions of the show on all your audio platforms, and you can check out the listener Discord that has other listeners to the show. Guards fans, Jeff and I are in there, and then all the other hosts of all their shows. So if you want to see what's going on in the White Sox Discord and how they're running away with the division at this point, you can go check that out too. See how things are feeling if you want to see how the other half lives this year at least. Go to lockedonguardians.supercast.com. Check the link in your show notes to find more 7-day free trial when you sign up. Yeah, I will say personally, the comments, especially Friday, really got to me because it was I normally don't let those things get to me. I have my emotional support baseball right now. It says reminders from Tiny Baseball. You are enough. It's okay to have bad days. You are loved, and be kinder to yourself. And I think we should all be kinder to each other in this stretch. I like to think that we've created a safe space. I know some people hate that word, safe space for the fans to complain about us. My wife was telling me this over the weekend, and she said you would appreciate this as a teacher, Jeff, that we have harbored a space that is safe where people can be themselves and they can air their frustrations and complaints because we've created that community, right? And that's when kids act out, right? As kids, they act out because they feel safe and comfortable. That's what our commenters are. They are very safe and comfortable with us, so they can act out about their frustrations about the team,
or it's because they feel like there's no ramifications, there's no consequence. That's the other thing.
Well,
so,
there is that, but it did get to me on Friday just because it was like okay, someone was waiting Bazan, and I was like, yeah, Bazan didn't have a great night on Friday, but Angel Martinez was over 5 with 3 strikeouts. He struck out looking in the game, and It's like this, like you said, Bazana isn't the problem. And by the way, Matt Festa, Jeff, you know this already, but Matt Festa also, unfortunately, I wish it was that easy, not the problem. Do you know who has the lowest FIP on the team in the second half among all relievers, Jeff?
It's not Cade Smith anymore.
Well, this is just the second half.
Oh, okay. Is it Matt Festa?
It is Matt Festa. Matt Festa has the lowest fielding independent pitching, which for those who
don't walk anyone or give up home runs.
Yeah, and that's what it is. The fielding independent pitching strips out all bad luck on defense. So if a player makes a play that doesn't show up as an error, but it's a bad play or something, it accounts for homers, accounts for walks, strikeouts, hit by pitch. 167 in the second half. So in 12 innings this half, 13 if you count on Sunday, it went down. It's below 160 now.
2 1/3 scoreless this weekend. I know people don't want to hear that. Because it's, if you're doing your Cleveland hate ratio in the comments, it's Bazana 1, it's Festa 2, and then it's those two above everyone else. I would argue Tanner in the past, it's a little bit muted on Tanner of late. Maybe it'll go back up because he had kind of a midday today, but it's just, ironically,
Colin Holderman has been a problem in the second half for them.
I mean, he had
that wrist inflammation now, which he had last year at Pittsburgh.
Yeah, he had 3 hit batters coming into August. He's got 6 in August. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But here's so if you want a positive, if you're looking unsurprisingly, the highest WAR of any pitcher in baseball belongs to Jacob Mizorowski, then Christopher Sanchez, then Cam S for the Yankees. I'm not gonna get myself in trouble. Like, these are the usual suspects: Chris Sale, Luzardo, Dylan Cease, Chase Burns, good for Cincinnati. They're Paul Skeens, in spite of everyone talking about the sky is falling. Drew Rasmussen, Yamamoto, sitting there at 11. Parker Messick, it's Cleveland. I mean, that's the thing too, right? As much as we're having such a different podcast, if Gavin Williams shows up and pitches like he's pitched all year, like they took 2 out of 3 from the Padres, one of the hottest team in baseball. We'd be talking about okay, the ship has turned around. They're half a game out of the wild card at that part. Like, it's amazing how like if Gavin had blown up last Saturday against the White Sox and instead had his great game this Friday, everything's changed. It's amazing how small a difference. Now, part of Gavin, by the way, for those who want to know, 22nd, tied for 21st actually in WAR with Cade Cavalli, Joe Ryan, 1 spot above Sonny Gray. That's what I did that there. But yeah, it's like they have parts and pieces. Like, that's what it comes down to. Bottom line, it's like, they have 4 really strong starters, and then the best starting appearance came from their 5th guy. I mean, Cantillo, we're not given, because it was a bad weekend, but to give that guy his roses, how crazy is it that he gave up the home run, and then they were a walk and a hit, not home run, sorry, a walk and the hit there, and then after that hit, the Guardians recorded 27 straight outs. Like, it was kind of like a mini no hitter because
they still walk guys, but they recorded.
Yes, there was no hits, 27 outs without a hit after that first hit. Like, it's just kind of interesting to watch that. And Cantillo was. I mean, Tanner had his problems missing bats, as did Gavin. Cantillo did not. Boy, they could not touch the change or the curve. Which, if you listen to...
Shouldn't that have been a roadmap for Sunday, by the way? I know Tanner and Joey don't have similar arsenals, but
no,
Tanner's got a curveball. He also has a good changeup. That should have been a better roadmap for Sunday.
Cantillo is so, like, he's got reverse splits. He's so hard versus righties that it is that situation where, like,
it's because of the changeup.
Yeah, so it's like, and when he is in the zone, he is just tough. So it's like, they've got that rotation. Gaddis has actually been relatively okay this month. I know people in the comments he might be the 3rd guy they want to string up.
I mean, the second half, he does have a 580 FIP.
July wasn't great, but August has been better. So, hopefully he's starting to, Sabrowski had the 1 great inning on Saturday. Maybe he can find some level. Like, his FIP isn't terrible in spite of the high walk rate, but it's like there's pathways to the pen being passable, and then you just need a little more consistency, and you need everybody to calm down.
And that's what it does feel
like. No, and it feels like everyone's playing tight. It feels like Vogt is managing tightly. It feels like, the players are hitting tightly. Did we bring it up on air? This is the problem. It's like my days are so long anymore. It's like on air, off air. I know they brought up on the broadcast that, like, they had the 3rd most 10 hit games where they can't get runs across. We brought that up already, right?
Yeah.
Like, we talked about that. It's like,
not today. I don't know. Yeah.
But then someone else brought up they've hit a batter in 8 straight games. It's like these little things. It's not even like sloppy play. It's just the inability to execute at points. And you wonder. This is where I start to wonder, not just about like Albanese and Correa, because everyone's going to bring them up, but it's like I wonder about the just organizational wide brain drain, where every year they lose more and more people, and it's like what is affecting them. And I know people are going to scream about the hitting coach. Hitting coach can only work with, he's a chef at a restaurant. He can only work with what's brought to him. Like they are the hitters they are when they get here. And if you look at this team outside of Rocchio in the second half and Rhys Hoskins, who's a guy who you're not changing, it's like they've been, okay. Like the catchers are who they are. Like Bazana has been league average.
Does Grant Fink get credit for Kwan's turnaround, by the way? I'm just wondering.
No, not according to the comments. Grant Fink would be our third most hated person in Cleveland based on the comments. There we go. Yeah. But it's just, I mean, the hitting coach has such little impact in the end. It's really hard. But, just looking at this team, there's still, and, why do I think there's still a chance for the postseason? Because, after this, you have the Giants who are currently.
Let's save that. Let's save that.
When we come back from break
for a little bit. Yeah, we'll talk more what we have hope for. We'll talk more about what has to happen the rest of the season, what has to happen the rest of the way. We'll keep talking about these games. We'll keep talking about the Guardians, individual players, what we're looking for. We'll have all that covered for you. Big thank you to our friends at Amazon for today's limited break. Because the back to school season, you want to spend less on your kids, you can do it with Amazon, because the back to school shopping season is crazy. You get a couple items you need. Maybe you're looking last minute. You got to get some clothes, some supply, and all of a sudden you're buying 10 things last minute, and that money really adds up quick. You didn't see it coming. Honestly, there are some schools that don't allow for Amazon wish lists for their teachers in their classrooms. That's crazy to me, because we're talking about saving more money on Amazon for back to school, and back to school starts this week for my wife. I know a lot of our schools are in Ohio. So if you're looking for some things last minute, you definitely want to save yourself, going out and having to scramble, maybe pay higher prices in stores. You want to check out Amazon, get it delivered to your house, have a little bit less chaos, save some money, and, help the teachers out, because like I always say, the teachers are spending a lot of money on their own classroom. So you can help out by buying something on Amazon they might need, and also your kid might need. Everybody wins. No store visits, and we're all saving money. That's what everybody wants, right? So remember, the Amazon's back to school low prices. You just spend less on your kids, because every dollar you haven't spent on them, or dollar you don't spend on them, is a dollar you haven't spent on them. So shop back to school on Amazon. Spend less on your kids. They're trying to keep up with all things Guardians, despite the frustrations. Maybe you're not watching all the games. You just want to find out what's going on. You can subscribe on YouTube, hit the bell, and that gets you notifications of when reaction videos go live, any reactions to news, games, and as well as the regular episodes. And then hit auto download on your audio platforms. Keep the show in your feed. So maybe you don't want to listen to Monday's episode, but maybe Tuesday you feel in a better place. You want to check out Tuesdays. That's fine. Auto download keeps it in your feed and also helps the show out as well, even if you're not listening every single day. But we appreciate everybody who's listening, whether it's Monday, Tuesday, or Monday, Thursday, whatever it is. Shout out to Jim. Ran to Jim after the fireworks show on Friday night. We were kind of walking in a big crowd when we were leaving the stadium on Friday, and spotted me and said, "Hey, Locked On Guardians, love the show," and a little fist bump. It was a good time, despite the loss. The fireworks show was awesome. That was what was most disappointing, is Guardians had great crowds this weekend, Friday and Saturday, because it was Rock and Blast, and Sunday they had a 3-hour rain delay, and a lot of fans did stick around, and they were treated to a dud of a game, which is very frustrating. I know you want to talk about the schedule coming up, Jeff. I just want to say, like, it's very frustrating right now the way they're playing, and again, I need to see evidence that they're gonna put it all together. Like on paper, I think it's all there. Like you said, Lowe and Adele have contributed well.
Foster's start was great.
Yeah, Yoho after those blow up, like he was better. DeLauder, let's hope his hamstring is okay. He's been good this year. Angel Hanal has been super fun to watch. I'm enjoying the heck out of that.
I was disappointed he wasn't in today.
Yeah, and I got to be honest, I'm enjoying Stephen Kwan's turnaround. We have a lot to talk about with Stephen Kwan when the season ends, but I hate to make the enjoy him comment, but I'm enjoying Stephen Kwan's turnaround. So
he's having a Stephen Kwan season. It's just he had the part where he's a below average hitter in the first half instead of the second half.
Yeah.
It's very par for the course with him. And I do want to take a second. I'm sorry if I got gatekeepery about name spelling. I did a whole episode of why Ralphie is not likely to be called up, and then people keep making the same comments, and Tom Hamilton also brought it up. So I'm just like, I understand it. He's exciting, he's fun, but again, go listen to Friday's episode. Even no matter what, I apologize for being gatekeepery there. That was uncalled for, but I explained on Friday, as have others, why Ralphie isn't the guy to go to, why Manzardo or Fry make more sense. But talking about schedule, so Cleveland, everyone's heard like, hey, they have this easy second half schedule. Well, it starts now, because it actually was not an easy second half schedule. That was the part they just played was actually pretty tough. Like, they came back. The Pirates are competing for a wild card. They've been kind of in the same range as Cleveland. The Twins, same range as Cleveland. Tampa's the best team in the league. Okay, Reds are easy. Diamondbacks are a playoff squad. After that, you have the Mets, supposed to be easy, but they've been better in the second half. Lindor's been really good in the second half. Hey, they at least would have won one of those easy if Rocchio makes the play or Cade pitches like Cade.
Doesn't walk too bad.
Yeah. The White Sox, it's at home. For the White Sox, they take 1 of 3 of those games from them. The Tigers, that was just a disappointing series, even though it's in Detroit. And the Padres, they got them when they were hot. The Padres had been, cold. They got them when they were hot. Everyone's like, you're making excuses. Fine, whatever. I'm just trying to give you context. The Giants are not a good team. And what sinks if you're a Giants fan, the Giants currently have the 4th worst record in baseball. I'm sorry, 5th worst record in baseball. But they can only pick 10th in the draft because they had a high pick a year ago. So, they're going to get knocked down in next year's draft. Then you got the Rockies, who are worse than the Giants. But always shout out Jim Corrigan, the announcer of my youth. I'll be listening to all those games with the Rockies radio feed. Then you have the Angels, the literal worst team in baseball. Then you have the Kansas City Royals, the 4th worst team in baseball. Bad. So, 1, 2, 3, 4 series against the worst teams. These are 4 of the 5 bottom feeders. And then you have the Blue Jays, who I think are now ahead of Cleveland. So another team that's kind of in their range. Then you got the Tigers, who are also about the same record as Cleveland right now. Then you have the Orioles, who currently have the 3rd wild card. Then the Twins, who are in their range. The White Sox, who, have the division. The Athletics, who are a bottom 5 team. Red Sox, who, everyone knows how good they've been. And then the Royals. So the schedule, if they have any chance to start making some ground up, it's right now. This is the weakest part of the schedule. This is what you have. The Giants, the Rockies, the Angels, and the Royals. That is that's 12 games. If they want to do something, they really need to win 7 or 8 of these. Like, just bottom line, that's where they need to be. If they come out of this and they're like 6-6 or below 500, then the season's done at that point. You just enjoy the young players. You look for progress, but it hasn't really worked out for them overall.
They should win.
What happens.
They should win every one of these series, and if they don't, it's a disappointment. It's not just they got 1 of 3. They went 1 of 3 against the Giants. They took 2 of 3 against the Rockies, and they took 1 of 3 against the Angels. They took 2 of 3 against the Royals. Like, they have to win they have to take 2 or 3. You have to win these series. They have 1 series. They have 1 series win since the second half. They have 1 tied with the Twins.
1-7-1.
Yeah, they have to win each of these series. I know, like you said, I know people are going to say you're making excuses for them, and that's fine, because like I've pointed out before too, like the whole thing about people say like, oh, what's their record against teams above 500? It's such a flawed stat, because it matters when you play.
When you face them, yeah.
But at the same time, I can also say, like, look, the Mets sold at the deadline. They were bad. The Guardians bought at the deadline. They should have played better. They should have won. The Tigers sold at the deadline. The Guardians bought. They should have played better. They should have won. I'm not saying they shouldn't have won those series. You could sit there and say, yeah, those teams were hot when you were playing. I'm saying the Padres are hot right now. And they bought at the deadline because AJ Preller is AJ Preller.
And they're currently the number 2 wild card team in the very tough NL.
So I think again, this is like a case of where like all these things can be true at once. They should have played better. They should have won some of those series, but you're also taking on those teams and they're playing better. But there's also no excuse for how the Guardians have played, because they've had a game where they don't play defense. They've had a game where they don't pitch. They've had a game where they don't hit, and it seems to cost them. So like that's why I've been saying the whole show. It's like, until they put 2 in a row together or 3 in a row together where they're playing consistent baseball, I have a hard time buying in. Like, yeah, they're a game out of the wild card. They're 60-64. I don't care about that last wild card spot, because I still want to see them make the playoffs. It'll be fun.
I do. Postseason is always fun.
I do too. But at the same time, they won the division 2 years in a row. they should win the division again this year, but they're not.
They don't have Jose though. Like I think it's a massive loss to not have the star Jose version.
Can I read you 2 quotes here and tell me who you think this is about? And the listeners can chime in too. Who do you think these quotes are about? This is a quote from a reporter. This has been 4, 5, 6 weeks of below average production from our offense. He's quoting a manager. Who do you think that manager is speaking to that reporter? If you had to guess.
I mean, I don't think it'd be Vogt because I don't feel like he ever is that direct, but maybe it is Vogt.
No, it's Dave Roberts. Dave Roberts in 4, 5, 6 weeks
the
of
Dodgers
below average. Yes, and then here's a response from a fan, which again, if you're a fan, you can fan however you want. Regardless of this team's poor offense, he has forgotten how to manage. He keeps making bad decisions, doesn't manage by the baseball book, doesn't create plays, barely ever uses the bunt. We're never going to win like this with the manager refuses to take action. Everybody sees their manager this way. The Brewers were going through a similar stretch recently. I know like the hitting with runners in scoring position has been a season-long problem with the Guardians. Some of it's bad luck, some of it's bad execution, some of it's just bad fit, whatever. But like this is happening across baseball right now. I think August in general is just like a tough month for everybody because like, and there's no doubt about it, the AL stinks. The AL reeks like
Chicago White Sox right now have a first round bye.
Yeah. Well, you know what? The White Sox, I'm going to say this right now. The Guardians are not going to win the division this year. I'm going to say it right now. And the White Sox are. The White Sox have done what good teams do. They are running away with the division at the right time. Yeah. They are winning. They swept the Tigers. The Guardians are playing poor baseball. The White Sox are going to win the division because they're doing what good teams should be doing. They're taking advantage, and they're smelling blood in the water. The Guardians, they probably will contend for a wild card spot because again, the AL stinks like a gym sock in a locker for months.
Here's an interesting note on the AL. One of the teams that bought at the deadline was Seattle Mariners, who a lot of people thought were going to make the World Series last year. They have currently would have the 6th pick in the draft. They have that's where they are. Houston is the wild card in the NL. And by the way, the Dodgers no longer have a first round bye. But this is the thing too. Like I don't know if we'll have time for it during the season. If it's something we'll talk about in the off season. But there's some funny narratives to me just in baseball in general, which is one like everyone acting like the Dodgers are falling apart. It's like, did we all forget when this happened a year ago?
Yes.
And then the other 2 things that like at some point we'll address is like, I see all the comments about people who get mad. At Friday's show, I talked about lineup changes, what I'd like to see. And people are like, well, the lineup always changes because of the platooning. And I'm like, guys, that's baseball. Like at some point we'll have to go through and talk about platoons. And, someone else commented about Diaz and Caminero. And I'm like, the Rays have their own version of Bertrand Hernandez, Christopher Sanchez, Curtis Mead. Every team in this league has two to three guys. Like there are certain things we think are only Cleveland things, but
every team kind of goes through this. And I think that's because too, like for the most part, a lot of these front offices and these teams are is the right word, homogeneous, because they're all kind of run with the same value mindset, the same formulas, algorithms. They're all run very similar. So that's why you see all of these teams have the same kind of thing. I also want to point out too, like people are talking about like the hitting coach and the lineups. I remember when Tito was here and Francisco Lindor would get a day off and he was hitting second or lead off. So like, Eric Steinmetz would hit lead off or second. Everyone's like, just because Lindor hits second doesn't mean his replacement has to hit second. Well, the lineup didn't change then, and now it's changing too much. So it's hard to find a happy medium. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the therapy. Hope we talked through some good stuff. Mailbag show on Tuesday. So insiders, everydayers, make sure you are sending us messages in the Discord and on subtext. All your questions for the next show. We will have a mailbag show. We haven't had one in quite a while. We'll enjoy the off day together. We'll talk about maybe positive things. I don't know. Let's try to stay away from, ask whatever questions you want. But I'm just saying, let's try to stay away from like lockout and other garbage. But let's have a fun show on Tuesday.
Thank you for joining us, and go Guardians, go.